Hi students. So in this video we're going to be talking more about the Linux command line and go over some basic common Linux utilities that you'll be using heavily in this course. So first of all, why would we want to use the command line? So you might say, well, I just installed Ubuntu and I logged in and it's got this fancy, nice graphical UI. Why don't I just use that? Well, you definitely can, and you should, and absolutely use the graphical UI, especially if that makes it easy for you starting out. However, a lot of the work that we're going to do in this course is going to be talking about automation and scripting. So how to make things happen automatically, based on a list of instructions that we're going to write into a script. And a lot of that's going to be interacting with the terminal. So you're going to need to get comfortable with the terminal as a part of completing the assignments and the coursework for this course. So some of the reasons to learn the command line is because it is the only thing that every Linux system has. So it's the only common thing that you'll find across all Linux systems. Desktop distributions are going to be slightly different. Sometimes in recovery scenarios, for instance, you might not even have access to a desktop environment. And if you think about the embedded devices that we're going to work on, you know what? You might not have any kind of HDMI or video output. It might be that the only real way you can interact with the device is through a command line terminal. So it's even if you normally would have a UI type of environment to work with in Linux, often when you have a problem, you might not have the option to use the UI. So the problem might happen early in the boot sequence before you're able to load a UI, for instance. So again, command line becomes kind of the most common denominator or the least common denominator of what's available at a given point in any time in booting the system. And it's often just the easiest, fastest, and the most reliable way to remotely access the system. So there's other ways to set up access so that you can get access to the full UI remotely, but it becomes a lot faster if you get used to using the command line to do those kind of tasks. So talking a little bit about some really common Linux utilities that are available for I/O. First one is Echo. So this allows us to do the kind of typical hello world that you start every assignment with. If I say echo and then put hello world in quotes, I simply echo the content of that I passed back out to the terminal. If I use, there's another I/O application that's really popular and useful is cat. So what cat is short for concatenate, which means just print out whatever file that I specified out to the terminal. So in this case, if I have a text file that's located in my directory that says ECN 5013 is awesome, if I just type cat in the name of that file, it'll copy out the contents of the file to the terminal. If I want to move back and forth between different directories, there's a command called pwd, which stands for print working directory. So this will tell me where I'm at in the directory hierarchy. So if I'm at a random command line, I type pwd, I can see that I'm actually at home ECN 5013 in the file system. ls is also a useful command that lets you list the contents of a directory. So if I am in my home directory and I type ls, I can see all the different, in this case the blue list is the directories that are created in in my home directory. And this white example is an example of a file. To move around between directories, I can use cd. So cd plus the directory name will move me into that directory from the terminal. And then I could use ls to list the contents of that directory, for instance. And mkdir could make a new directory based on the name that you specify. Some other common directory and file manipulation. MV is going to move, so you can move files or directories to a new location. CP is going to copy. In the move case, you're going to physically take the file out of one directory, put it in another one. In the copy case, you're going to make a duplicate of the file from one location to another. And RM is going to be removing either a directory or a file based on the file name that you pass. One other common utility that you'll use in this course is touch. And what touch does is just updates a file's timestamp if the file already exists. Or if the file doesn't exist, it's just going to create an empty file and update the timestamp to the current timestamp. So for all of these commands and every command that you deal with on the terminal, there's what are called man pages that are short for manual pages you can use to find out more details about how to use a command. And so the CP command that we talked about before, If you use man cp to get more information about that command, you'll see all the different options that you can pass to the command. And if you read through the description, you'll see all the details about the specific options that you can provide and what every option does. The man program and the manual references here date back to the original Unix Programmer's Manual from 1971. And if you look at these numbers in parentheses here, these are actually referencing chapters of the Unix Programmer's Manual. So in this case, the chapter 1 is talking about CP, and it's all the user commands that you can issue on the terminal for a Unix Linux-based system. So CP, our man, is also easy to search via Google. So a lot of times, rather than going to the terminal and type man whatever I want, I will just type man plus the command name directly into Google, and you'll pull up sites that have man pages online. So this is kind of a handy way of referencing those and of looking those up using your web terminal. So here's an example of use of the CP command and looking for more information to use the CP command using the man function. So in this case, I change directory into my lecture 2 directory, and then I make a new directory called a directory, and I make a subdirectory under that called a subdir. And then I'm going to make a directory that's going to be the target of a copy command. So I make a copy target directory. So then I'm going to try to copy a directory to a copy target directory, again using the source destination format here for CP. What I'll notice is if I run this command, I get an error message that comes back that says -r not specified, omitting directory a directory. So what it's telling me here is that it didn't actually copy one directory to my target directory because I didn't specify the -r option. So if I go back to the screen I looked at before where I typed man cp in the terminal and I pull up the man page for CP, one of the things I can look for is the -r option for CP. And I can see what the -r option does. In this case, it's saying copy directories recursively. So because I'm trying to copy a directory and a subdirectory recursively into my copy target, I'm going to need to specify cp-r as the error message suggested here. So to fix this, I can do cp-r and reference the copy directory, the copy target directory. Once I do that, I can, if I install the tree command that I mentioned before, so I can visualize the directory tree structure. Once I look under the a copy target directory, I'll see my a directory and a subdirectory. And I can see that structure actually matches the structure that I intended to copy in with CP.